Good morning, everybody. Happy Sunday. I hope you all had a wonderful Christmas and a great New Year's Eve as we are just starting out 2021, 3 days in. I hope you guys are feeling a bit refreshed and recharged, hopefully from the cozier holiday season that you had this year. Instead of all of the people that we're used to seeing, you might have probably had a bit more intimate, cozy holiday this year. And I wanted to talk this time about how to make New Year's changes that will actually last, that you can stick with, which is kind of funny. We were talking just a little bit earlier with friends about some things similar to that as well. But one of the things we've talked about in prior years is the fact that sometimes people look at a new year and expect that suddenly everything will be different and better just because it's a new year, and it's not necessarily the case. There are a lot of things that need to happen within to make changes if you want to see changes on the outside aspects of your life. So one of the ways to really work with New Year resolutions or life changes that you're wanting to make, whether they're big or small, is to first start with reviewing your life. That's kind of one of the things we tend to do at the end of the year anyway, is to look back and think about how the last year made us feel, what we are looking for in the future, but really do a conscious, in-depth review within yourself. This last year, 2020, was a really interesting year full of a lot of challenges and a lot of surprises and a lot of changes compared to the way we're normally used to living life. And hopefully you've seen some good things that happened throughout this last year as well as those other challenges. But first, what you're going to want to do is to do a review and think about what did you learn about yourself in this last year? And what could you possibly have done differently this last year? Another good question to ponder is if you knew what you know now, as we're in January 2021, if you knew what you knew now back then, what advice would you give to yourself back in January or March last year or April last year as we were entering into the pandemic and seeing those first numbers that rose and just preparing for the dramatic life changes that have happened to a lot of people? Are there things that you would have done differently had you known then what you know now? If you could give advice to yourself, what would it have been? And is it a relevant piece of advice that you maybe should give to yourself now as well? Sometimes we look back and think about what advice we would give our former selves, but we don't always question, so is that advice you should take now as well in your life? Can you deepen that advice with the knowledge that you feel you've gained? It's important to do those reviews and to really ponder that in depth to be able to get to the source of what you would actually like to change in yourself. Sometimes people think about change and they want everything out here to look different, but it has to start from within, regardless of what the change is that you're wanting to see. Change comes from within. Even in the midst of a pandemic, the only thing that we truly can change is ourselves. Yet the changes that we do make within ourselves sometimes have a butterfly effect impacting others all around us, and sometimes even beyond that. Please continue to be respectful of others. Wearing a mask and washing your hands often are just easy ways to show compassion and to show that respect for other people. As we're getting ready and we're just entering into this new year, please be patient and be kind. Sometimes those moments that we are stretched and that we're challenged, those are the times that we most need to exercise the greatest amounts of patience and kindness. Remember, it is not just you out there. A simple kind gesture can mean the world to somebody. If you're waiting in line at a store and there's a person behind you only has one or two things, go ahead and ask them to go in front of you. It won't really change that much in the scope of your day, but it might mean the world to them in making their day a better day. Sometimes these simple, small acts of kindness are ways that we can learn more about ourselves and to have that mirror to see what changes we want to make and what kindnesses that we seek from others within ourselves as well. The next time somebody messes up an order for you, or you see a package that is waiting to be delivered, I know a lot of people are waiting for packages that should have been delivered and we're not sure where they are. Hold the anger back and think, just for today, I will be kind. Remember, we are all humans trying to navigate this landscape as best as we can. Be humane to the other humans. Maybe these are some sparks that you can create within the changes that you'll want to make within yourself over this next year, and be able to see wonderful ways that those changes will rise and blossom into different gifts and blessings within your life. Because each time you choose kindness or compassion or patience over anger or frustration or loss, it actually creates greater joy within yourself, a greater sense of peace within yourself, and your day will go better as well. As you reflect on your life and your choices over this last year, what moments stand out to you? What moments that were good stand out? What moments that were hard stand out? Remember, as you reflect, to notice your actions and to notice your words and your thoughts, because that is what can make an impact on as you make choices about how to live in 2021. As you do the review and as you think about each of the experiences and the choices, think about the thoughts, the words, and the actions that caused those choices to happen, that created either the good or the bad in your life. We're equally responsible for all of those things within our life. When you recognize that, it may be hard at first because it brings full responsibility and full accountability into yourself. But the beauty of it is that that is where you find your personal power. Your ability to impact, to change, and to design your life. You don't have to be swayed fully by the current that's moving outside. Instead, when you recognize that fullness of power and responsibility and accountability within yourself, you begin to recognize that you don't have to be pulled by the anger or the frustration or the worry or the anxiety or whatever it is that you're feeling in the moment that day, but you can choose patience and gratitude and joy and peace as you find those within yourself. So reflect. Look at what you did well this last year. Look at what you would change. Look at what advice you would give yourself. And then decide what one key goal you would like to accomplish and what you would like to become better at doing, being, or thinking in this next year. There's a phrase that sometimes people will use: good thoughts, good deeds, good words lead to a good life. Those are good thoughts to think of as you're choosing your words and your actions and your deeds as we're starting out this new year. It can be a clean slate, but don't feel like you should turn your back on the things that were hard in the past. Know that those are learning moments and ways that have built up who you are now and today for the choices that you continue to make as you decide who you want to be and the life you want to design for yourself in this new year. I really think picking just one thing is really the best way to make sure you're successful at being able to achieve what it is you want to achieve over the next year. That way you can track it, you can focus on it, you can work on it, and you can be excited when you see yourself getting better and you see yourself getting there and living that life that you want to live, making the choices that you want to make that spark the greatest joy. Personally, I usually choose one new thing each year that I want to work on within myself, but I never share with people what that one thing is, because to me it holds more meaning, and I tend to do better, I've found, when I choose it within myself. I'll focus on it frequently, but privately. That may work for you, or you may be somebody who does better by feeling like someone holds you accountable. So you may be someone who wants to share what your goal is. Either way, I suggest you choose just one to start with, and once you feel like you've achieved that, then you can choose others as well. If you want to choose someone that holds you accountable and you feel like you'll do better achieving your goal that way, you might want to choose someone that you know will really hold you accountable and ask you about it periodically. Maybe there's a goal that they would want to achieve that they would like to have help with being held accountable as well. And you can do monthly check-ins to see how you're doing with it, if you're both improving or if you need a little bit of help or encouragement or inspiration or ideas on how to achieve it. It's up to you. That's another one to really think about and reflect within. Which way will give you the greatest success for what your goal is? We're all different. That's one of the wonderful things that makes us so unique as humans. We're all different with what makes us work and how we make things work. But once you choose that thing, write it down in your calendar every single month. Choose a date that you see it in your calendar so it reminds you that that's the one thing you're working on this year. Sometimes that little reminder can be a great way to spark and to remember to check your progress, but also to spark within yourself, oh right, that's what I'm working on this year. Did you know that most people by February don't even remember what the New Year's resolution was that they made on January 1st? A large percentage of people forget by mid-January. So I usually put it in my calendar for one day each month to do a check-in and see how I'm doing with that. That way you can hold yourself accountable and remember. Working on yourself daily and checking in monthly with a new goal each time you achieve the last one will set you up to living a life that is full of meaning and is designed the way you want it to be, the way you want to live. And what a great way to celebrate each time you feel like you've reached that goal. Or it might be something that's a lifetime of progress that you work on, but maybe you reach a certain point where you feel really comfortable and happy with what you've achieved. And so then you want to set a new goal. Maybe halfway into the year you'll feel pretty happy about it and you set a new goal. But wait until you feel like you've made some good progress and you've set it in so it's a habit, or you've raised yourself to a level that it is affecting your daily life in the positive way that makes you happy, and then set the new goal. Just like a butterfly, we all have the ability to change ourselves, but we can only change ourselves. We can't change everything around us or anybody else around us. We only can change ourselves. And just like a butterfly, we all need to go into the stage of cocooning when we're working on changing ourselves. We have to kind of go into that bubble of reflection. Butterflies go from being caterpillars crawling low to the ground and noticing the current from that lower position to spinning their own cocoon, and their entire body literally turns itself into the mass of cells that become that cocoon at that moment of reflection, of going deep within. And then as the chrysalis is opening, they're able to spread their wings and fly. What a great way to think of your own journey. With anything that you're wanting to improve on this year, you may feel like you have a stack of things you'd like to be better, but really choose just one. You can add more later. Choose one. Hold yourself accountable. Look into that moment of reflection, even if it feels like it's hard at points. That moment of reflection is where we learn. That's where we make those mental notes of ourselves that we wish we could tell our younger selves, or we could wish we could teach ourselves at the beginning of the pandemic. But you can teach yourself that now. Tap into the wisdom and the knowledge that you have within yourself. Give yourself the advice now of the things that you know now. Don't let them just meander in your mind as you go on to the next thing. Let yourself reflect on it. Let yourself open up with it as you emerge a wonderful, vibrant butterfly as you're moving through this year. Remembering that this is the time of the year as we're in winter. This is the time of year where we're really planning. These months from December, January, and February is where we need to go within ourselves to do the planning. This is the time where we're cocooning when the weather is cold and we want to curl up by the fireplace. So do that reflection now and decide what changes or what thought patterns that you want to change. Plant those seeds when we come into March. Start really seeing those seeds sprouting as we're coming into the end of April and starting in May. Really taking into account the wheel of the year and the ability to plan so that you can have your harvest that comes up in the fall. And you can see all the work you've been doing on yourself is creating this picture where you're living the life of your dreams because you can do it. It's within you. As you emerge, you turn, you metamorphosize from the beautiful caterpillar through the cocooning stage and the beautiful vibrant butterfly. Each stage has its own purpose. Each stage is beautiful in its own way, even when it sometimes seems to be the darkest point. There is beauty and light in it. Sometimes we need to search for that. But creating that one goal, set those monthly dates in your calendar to check in with it. And remember the gratitude box that we've talked about often. Often I bring that up at the beginning of the year. A couple years ago, we talked about it frequently throughout the year because that is a great way to really help you manifest your dreams. If you have a small box, something that's pretty that you want to look at, that you want to have out on your table. And then for me, I always like to use small slips of paper because I know I would be overwhelmed if I let myself have big slips because I'm a writer and I like to write a lot. And you give me a big paper, I'm going to fill up both sides and I'm not going to want to stop. So I've made myself choose little postage type or like index card types of sizes of paper. I started with Post-it notes because I had to just have that little square. And that way I did sit down every day to do it. Even if I was busy and I didn't feel like I had time to do it, I would do it because I knew that I could only write so much. And sometimes I would be writing up the sides and it'd be really tiny, but then I was happy that I was able to do it. But I knew that it limited me in a way that I could keep doing it. So find a way that works for you. Maybe you need a beautiful box. Maybe you want a journal that you can write and track the days and have it where you can have it on a shelf later. But do a gratitude box because you're going to want to write down every single day something that made you smile, or something that you're grateful for, or something that just was a bright spot in your day. If you were really, really depressed that day, it might be that you noticed that there was the sun was shining, or you might have noticed a pretty leaf on the ground, and that was all you could find that was bright, and that was bright because it was yellow. But write something down that is a positive that you can look back on, because as you do that, as you look to find those little things, even on your darkest days, you're training your brain to see that which is good, and you're training yourself to draw to you all of those good things and to notice those opportunities as they come your way. So really work on that. Get your gratitude box started if you haven't already. And then at each of the holidays of the year, that's where I like to look back in on the gratitude box. Or if I'm having a bad day where I'm just struggling a little bit, or I find myself going into a funk or something, that's a good day to reach into the gratitude box, pull something out randomly, and remember what made you smile in the past, or something that you were grateful for. But I do recommend looking into the gratitude box, certainly around Yule and to the new year. If you have one already and you haven't looked back at it, pull a few things out. See what made you smile this last year. And then we'll also do it at the cross-quarter holidays, so the summer solstice, the winter solstice, the spring equinox, and the fall equinox are all wonderful times to look into that gratitude box and remember what does make you smile. Do it in a way that works for you, but start doing it right away. We at Earth and Sky want to wish you a very happy new year, full of light and full of love. And we hope that you make this year a year that works for you in a way that makes you smile, a way that you grow, so that when we get next year, when we come back around to Yule, that you can say, wow, I really turned this into something that worked for me this year. In whatever way that looks for you. Happy New Year, everybody. We will see you next Sunday. Thank you.